Harmony's footsteps could be heard as she returned from the bathroom. In her hands, she held a bucket with a bottle of bleach inside. "Sorry, I didn't mean to eavesdrop on what all of you are saying." "Don't worry about it. I don't see a reason to keep such things a secret." Han comforted her. Pausing for a moment as he looked at her, he said, "This is something that'll be dangerous, so I think it'll be better if you stay here." Harmony looked relieved for a moment, but then said, "Though staying here is something I want to do, I want to go with the three of you." She looked like she was trying to gather the courage to voice her thoughts. "I know that this world is really dangerous, and want to be able to do my part instead of just running away." Listening to her trembling breaths, he knew that she was terrified by the prospect of seeing those things again. In their small group, Harmony was the only one that saw what those creatures looked like, so he had respect in her desire to accompany them. This was going to be a dangerous journey, but the hopeful payoff would make it worth it. Seeing his reaction, Harmony sighed in relief that he agreed with her thinking. She walked over to him and handed over the bucket. "I also grabbed some cleaning gloves. I thought they would help with cleaning this place, considering the blood everywhere." Reaching into the bucket, she pulled out a bundle of gloves. "That was nice thinking. We should be careful around the blood, with how little we know about them," Han advised. Harmony passed a pair to his mother and sister, as she also put on a pair. After everyone had a pair of gloves on, they continued to clean the kitchen and dining area. With the bucket, Han filled it with water and poured in a substantial amount of bleach. The air was filled with the dizzying smell, though it was also a comfort to everyone. From under the sink, Han took a dish rag and soaked it into the mixture. Without wringing out the cloth, he got on the floor and began mopping up the blood. If his mother and sister were paying attention to his cleaning, they would have noticed the blood mysteriously disappearing just as the cloth touched the blood, leaving only enough blood to be soaked up into the rag. He then carried the rag over to the sink and wrung it out. A waterfall of bleach, blood, and water cascaded into the sink to create a whirlpool as it flowed down the drain. Turning on the sink, he quickly cleaned it as much as he could, though the rag looked cleaner than physically possible. Once the trash bag was filled, Jennifer pulled out the bag and carried it to the sliding door. Han could hear her grunting with effort and the clanging of various objects as it hit the ground outside. With their methodical flow of work, the kitchen and dining room were soon clean. As Han continued to clean the blood trail leading down the hallway and out the sliding door, everyone else went to other parts of the house that needed to be cleaned up. It felt like the process helped to distract everyone from what had happened and tomorrow's journey to the university. In the room with the sliding doors, the four of them were relaxing on the sofas and chairs. They had finally finished the process of going through the entire house, reorganizing various things and making sure that it was habitable for them. Even though there was no way to know if they would be coming back to this location once they headed out to the university, it was a smart thing to do, so that there would be a place for them to go back to. "Han, what's going to happen with Grace?" Harmony asked after they enjoyed the feeling of the chairs and sofas they were sitting in. This question appeared to be something that weighed heavily on her mind. Leaning his head back on the chair, he said, "I don't know. Grace needs to have the freedom to make her own decisions without anyone pressuring her. But being out there by herself isn't a safe thing for her," his mother added. "That's true. But the problem is whether she's able to change her thinking to this new environment. As a police officer, her duty was to maintain the peace and uphold local laws." Lifting both of his hands into the air, he said, "This isn't the time for that kind of mentality, where death is a genuine possibility. No longer are people thinking about heading to work or students pondering what schools they will be going to. Lifting his head and letting his arms fall back down, he said, "I know that I'm willing to do whatever it takes for us to get through this." It felt like a cloud was hovering over everyone, each person with different things on their mind. When Harmony's eyes met his, Han said, "Like with Grace, you're also going to need to prepare yourself for violent situations, where you may have to take a life." He gave her an encouraging smile, continuing, "All of us are worried about what's going to happen, but I think we can get through this." Harmony awkwardly smiled back at him. "Maybe this time, I'll be able to act and stand by others instead of running away." "The sun is going to be up soon, so we should all get some sleep. I'll keep an eye out for signs of the creatures since I'm still pretty awake," Han told Harmony and his family. Though his mother and sister looked like they were going to protest at having him take the first watch, their eyes seemed to disagree as sleep overtook them. Harmony was nearly asleep in an instant. Lifting his hand and watching the sparkling powder floating in the air, he smiled. Sometimes having this power comes in handy. Turning his head to his mother and sister, who were laying on the couch, he whispered, "Getting sleep will help the two of you process all that's happening, and hopefully, you won't be weighed down too heavily." Looking towards Harmony, he added, "I also hope that you'll stand by us instead of running away, if things go south." Han watched as a smile seemed to appear on Harmony's face as if she could hear his comforting words. Pulling out a book that he enjoyed while growing up from a pocket dimension, he looked at the cover that had the picture of a spacecraft flying through space with a man and woman holding one another on the cover. Smiling at thoughts going through his mind, he opened the book to the first page and began to read. A glowing ball of light hovered near his head and provided a dim light source to help him view the pages in the dark.